Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Bob.
I'm Spencer.
I'm Dan.
This is a board game rundown. Today we are going to review Dune: House Secrets. Dune: House Secrets, legendary game, legendary pictures, right? Portal Games, Ignacy Trebicek, and a bunch of names that I also would butcher if I tried to say, just like Ignacy.
Sorry.
So I'm not going to ruin those.
At least we've heard Ignacy's before.
Yeah. And this is really kind of the design team behind Detective and things like that, right?
Yep.
So,
And Robinson Crusoe.
yes.
Because Portal Games and Ignacy.
Yes. Yeah. So, you like hard co-op games? Welcome to hell. No. So
Welcome to Dune.
So Dune: House Secrets essentially is it's if you've seen especially the new movie, because they have lifted the IP. I mean, this is directly that IP. If you're familiar with the books, also going to help you perfectly. If you've watched the David Lynch version, I hope you had a good time, but that's not going to help you a lot with this game. But anyways, so essentially up to 4 players. If you're not using one of the players, they become an asset or an advocate, and you flip it out. You flip their card over to a different side, and it just kind of gives you you could still kind of use their you get a benefit from them.
Yeah, they actually are slightly better early on as an advocate, but.
And then, so this is going to be played over a series of chapters, and as you go through, it's going to give you encounter cards, and then as you decide to resolve the encounter cards, it's funny you just put that there because I was going to move the time track.
To where the
when you've got a time track and a consequences track, right? And
it's pointless.
And when you go to one of the cards, right, an event card, you essentially are going to move that time track down one as you resolve that event. So you're not necessarily going to be able to have time to get all of your events done.
Correct.
You guys okay?
Nothing happened.
Okay. And then there's also things that you could do where you're potentially going to take consequences for your actions, like maybe some Harkonnen soldiers are nearby, and so you can go over and talk to these people, but you're going to be close to the Harkonnens, and it's like, so you would flip one of these tokens over, and if it's red, it's bad. You slide down on the consequence track, and if it's green, you get a pass. Now, if it's green, you're going to put it off to the side, and you still have your remaining pool of tokens left.
So it gets worse.
If you
Your
draw,
odds are worse,
if you draw a red, it basically resets the whole pool.
Okay.
You're going to have some items. You might have subterfuge or combat or water, spice or Muad'Dib, which is wild. You can spend for anything. And you're going to, you're going to draw encounter cards. And when you go, you're going to resolve them. You might go to the app, like we had the iPad up, and it would be like, learn more about house, blah, blah, blah. And you type it in, and then it plays like a 2-minute video with some really great art.
Yeah.
I love the animation
and a
style.
really good voiceover, and it will tell you some things about the house, and then you're gonna or a thing or a place, and then you're gonna decide basically based on all that information, you're gonna decide all these things, what events you're gonna do. When you run out of time, you're gonna do a status report. You're gonna click on the status report, and they're gonna ask you a bunch of questions, and then you're gonna answer them, and then that's gonna determine where you go from there.
Okay.
So we played the first one. Now there's also abilities you can unlock.
Yep.
And
little stickers.
And the numbers on the consequence track, that's how much experience you get.
You're not gonna be able to
So
see that, but
the more consequence, the lower that is, the fewer experience points you have to buy abilities.
Okay.
And
that's funny because when I first saw that, I saw consequences, and it was getting like fewer and fewer as you went down the track.
you're
and I was
like,
like,
nice.
yeah, okay, cool. I mean, fewer consequences.
you
I like
misunderstand Dune.
Yeah.
yeah. So if you get, and that's it goes 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then read an event.
Yeah.
Probably not a good thing.
Probably not a good event. Yeah.
Right. So if we finished our first scenario at 4 on the second floor.
Yep. Okay.
That means we got 4 experience points to divide between the 4 players.
Holy cow.
So it gets tough because on the sticker sheet there are it's basically like a skill tree, and so some of the skills on there cost 2 experience. So who's going to get 2 experience, maybe get this very useful skill? And we were like, look, we haven't assigned any of them yet, but we were kind of like metagaming some of it because it's like, well, this might be more useful
later on. Because it breaks open the skills you can get further down the road.
Right, because you have to think about how many
Prereqs.
chapters you're playing, too.
Yeah.
We're not going to make it to most of the end of these trees, right?
So you're going to pick
and choose.
Yes. So we got a lot to to think about and to decide because it is going to affect future games, and obviously it's going to affect how you play and what you do in future games, right? Because you're going to try to also maximize your play style towards that, towards your skills and everything. So everybody's got like, I guess the asymmetrical abilities to start with is everybody basically starts with a different resource, right? Like my character started with subterfuge.
Yep.
And I think you had
battle.
water.
I was battle. Caleb
Oh,
was
you had
water.
cattle.
He was spice.
Cattle, battle. Yeah, spice, water.
Cattle battle, hold the loot.
Yeah. Exactly. But anyway, so yeah, we played through. It didn't. I mean, the rule book is very light. So there's a few things.
The app kind of walks you through most of
It does, but there's a few things that I think we had questions on that we weren't like 100% sure on.
Yeah.
So the rule.
It took a hardcore. There was literally like 2 encounters I sat out of and just read the rule book from front to back. And just like I was just like, I want to understand what's going on. As I have never played a game like this. I've never played detective or anything like that. Yep. So I was just like, hand me that rule book. I'm gonna just study for a bit. You guys continue. Let me know if you need me.
Right.
And I don't feel like we played anything so wrong or anything like that. It was just a matter of making sure we were moving the time track properly.
Time track movement and it wants you to handle the encounter cards in a skill tree manner to help organize things, and we weren't doing that. So like we were just making sure that everything was happening right. You know,
we also weren't like taking notes, and we probably should.
Oh man, no one brought pencils or paper.
Everybody take notes because detective, it is super important to take notes.
It says so many times in the book because again I was just like sitting here reading here and like on every page it says like notes are like spice, like and I was just like just like so we're doomed.
Yeah, we walked around like off-worlders and ill-fitting still suits. We were terrible.
I said I was like, okay, next time we play this, I'm making sure to bring pencil and paper in case anyone else
forgets. He will come amongst you, and he'll already know your ways.
That's right. That's right.
So, quick question. I saw these guys, which look like those.
So these are just the promo version. So because I pre-ordered, I got the promo pieces.
So that's what comes with it.
But that's what comes with the game instead of the wooden bits. But I mean, they're fine. They're fine.
Just wondering.
So Bob, you got any other questions? So Bob did not play this.
I didn't have a chance to play.
Bob's got his own copy of the game, so we opted to start our campaign without him because then Bob will have more opportunities to play his own campaign.
He has played detective though.
I have played detective.
So he's coming.
That's why I knew a couple of the questions to kind of ask, like about taking notes. Maybe I was taking notes.
So
and whatnot.
I will say, if you have played detective and you like detective, or you're okay with the rule set and maybe you like the Dune world better, like you'll be fine.
Okay.
If you hate the way detective plays, you might have a problem with this.
Same thing, by the way, for Vienna Connection. Same thing.
Yeah.
It's just like the Cold War version of Detective. So if you played that, but Detective is the famous one, but there might be someone out there who's never played that and has played Vienna Connection. Same thing.
Same deal.
Also kind of similar to the Sherlock Holmes consulting detective kind of game, except way less freeform. But the basic idea of doing a deduction game and then answering questions at the end and trying to like figure it out. Same mechanic.
Because there's no die roll, or anything like that. You're just deciding as a group. Hey, okay, let's talk about this. I think we should go over here and explore
and some
this.
encounters might be like, oh, in order to follow those people, you need a spice to get through the gate or something. So there's going to be that's the main resource is like spending them to do different encounters.
Do we risk turning over a consequence and having our track go further down?
Right.
Or
so
how many of these time tracks?
The biggest decision for new people to keep in mind as they start this is the time track goes down every time you start reading basically an encounter card to resolve it, right? We're going to activate this to resolve it. But the problem with that is, so you think like, okay, well, we'll do that encounter and that's going to spend one time, right? But you have no idea where that encounter is going to lead. So you might start that encounter and then that encounter spawns 2 more encounters. Right. This card now costs 3 time because we did that. And so managing your time like that.
You could abandon that encounter.
Of course, you could abandon it before getting your full information, right?
And you could always go back to that spot like further down in the tree if you want. But yes, so it's really gut-wrenching decisions sometimes.
And this one didn't lead ultimately to a quiz at the end. It led more to the app saying, well, you've discovered these things, so it's going to change how the story's going.
Why do you think that this is... What do you think is the important thing?
I actually loved the way this ended because I've played Sherlock Holmes and I understand how detective works and stuff, and I love that this one wasn't just here's a test, answer the correct answers. It was it asks us, some things, and we answer some things, and then it basically kind of shapes how our next scenario is going to go, is what it feels like. And that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's just tough for me because, like, I'm a kind of gamer that I like to take all the paths, figure out
Yes.
all the things,
You will not
all
have
the
time.
information.
Caleb said the same thing, and it was just like,
Yep.
good luck.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
because so there was like a main thing that we could do, right? And then Caleb's like, okay, I've played Skyrim, I've played all these things. You do all the side objectives
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
and it's just like,
Nope.
And then he's like, you know what? I want to keep doing this. I want to get this tiny little thing and this thing. I'm like, the time.
yeah, so yeah, it's really hard to like talk about this game
Without giving
without
stuff away.
spoiling
Well,
stuff. It's just
I
like
think they've done a good
first
job so
scenario
It's
far.
just
kinds of
like
things, there's things
stuff
you'll encounter
happens.
anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and I don't think there's like a ton of spoilers in the first scenario, but just to give everybody kind of an idea of what to expect.
Yep.
This is a game. I don't even want to call this a game.
Uh-huh.
I think this needs to be called an experience, because
Storytelling.
in games you're trying to win, right? You've got like an objective, like a very clear objective. Now I guess they do give you some objectives, like it's a find out X, and then maybe also a objective 1B might be and figure out Y, right? You know what I mean? Or
yeah, which might give you more information for later, stuff like that. Yeah.
So right now, it doesn't really feel like a game as much as like, and I don't mean that in a way where it's on rails and you're like only going in one direction.
Oh,
But
very
it
much not.
but it is almost like putting on a VR set and walking around in this world a little bit, and you're like, I don't know how. We played our first scenario. I don't know how good or bad we did, right?
Yeah, no, that's the awesome thing. It's
I
just
know.
like,
So
what's happening next?
no, but I think fair warning that will drive some people crazy,
Right.
and
Did
some
we win?
people
Or is it over? Did we win? Yeah.
some people could hate that.
Yeah.
I think though that those people just don't understand how scenario-based games work, though, right? Because they'll point at the game is all the scenarios, the 3 or 4 scenarios or whatever, right? That's the game, and you're playing the game in sections. And so we solved the first section. How well did we solve it? We don't know, but we solved the
Right.
first section.
You say solved. I would say
But-
experienced.
But we
I
don't know.
guess.
We don't know if the next section is section 2 or section 2A,
Right.
E, C, D, E, F,
The-
G.
It's just all I'm saying is that the type of deduction and stuff that this basically is definitely still a game to me. Like, it's an experience for sure, but like, so Blood on the Clock Tower is not a game because the whole thing is just talking. That's the
yeah,
whole thing.
but you can win.
There's a winner.
There's a winner in this after
there?
the end.
Is
right?
there?
Is
There's
there?
definitely going to be a conclusion to the story. Is what I'm
Okay,
saying.
that's
Sure.
not necessarily a winner.
Correct.
You can word every game that way. This story concluded with me having more victory points than
But
you.
we
Like,
Yeah,
that's
you
just-
won.
Makes you the winner.
You're just arbitrarily adding definitions to things.
We
is all
also
I'm
have
saying.
no confirmation that we won't die in the next scenario. We don't know if we're going to make it all the way through.
Yeah, we don't know. Like if you get, we don't
Alright,
know what.
Conan wins.
We don't know what
happens?
encounter 6
Yeah,
does.
what
right?
happens
Sure.
if you run into a scenario where it says spend a combat die, and if you can't spend a combat die, it could have extremely bad consequences, and you could die before you get to the end.
Yeah,
Right.
maybe.
Would you
Yeah.
count that as a loss?
Yes.
So there's a winning and a losing. That's
No.
what I'm saying.
No.
You can't just say that.
No, there's a
I would
surviving
count that
and
as,
there's a losing.
as
True.
an ending that is less than satisfactory.
That's fine. This is a game for me. It's a very fun
I'm
deduction
not
game.
saying that it's not. I'm just saying that people need to be warned that this is
It's very different.
Not in the
When-
traditional sense.
there is not a clear winner at the end of at least the very first scenario we
Of
played,
course.
right? And I imagine that we either all win as a team or lose as a team, right? And
I would
don't
hope so.
yeah,
I don't know that losing a
One
character
player is a spy, so we'll see.
losing you know what I mean? Like it would be, because it's not like, oh, I went to this location. I mean, we're like all at this location. We're all doing this one thing, and then we all go to another location, right? And then we all are doing another thing. And then, so you got to, you're pooling your resources. Now, like, say we need Spencer to come off that spice, and it's his spice to spend. I mean, if he chooses not to do it, he chooses not to do it, right?
course.
And we could. So there,
Stab him.
there is, you do have free will, I guess. You know what I mean? And you could choose not to do things because maybe he does not feel like
as a matter
that's
of
a
fact,
good
we
path
were just
to go
kind
down.
of accidentally doing majority vote for the
Yeah.
scenarios. Like, hey, 2 of us want to talk to that person. Okay, 1 of us wants to talk to that person. Okay, we'll do that one because of majority vote. That's kind of how we were doing it.
And at the end, I feel like everybody was pretty satisfied with with all the decisions we made. There wasn't like, I told you we should have gone, here. Now that might get down. That
I
might
can't
change.
wait for that moment.
That might change later.
Sure.
But also, I mean, so like the prologue is what we played. That starts on on 6 on the time track. And I looked ahead at some of the other scenarios just like for the time, and it's like 11, you know,
Well,
much
you got
higher.
more
It
time.
immediately like almost
Okay,
doubles
well, I was
in
going to
time.
ask you, even though it's just the prologue, the 2 to 3 hour time mark, is that pretty accurate?
No, I
We
don't.
did
I
argue
mean,
less,
well, not for
but-
the prologue.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We know it's just the prologue, so it's about an hour. for
Right, and the
prologue.
whole point is that the normal missions are then twice as many encounters. So
But I think also it just is going to depend on how much time you spend agonizing over
Right, over
decisions.
your
Oh, yeah.
decisions. Yeah.
I would say the prologue feels like an hour and a half thing. You know,
Okay.
you guys learn the mechanics. It obviously depends fully on how much talking you're doing, though. You could play it in 45 minutes if you guys are
Nope, we're doing this.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if you really get into it, especially because this game is clearly designed for fans of Dune. There's a reason they made a modern
Oh,
detective
yes.
game, a Cold War detective game. Now they're making a Dune one.
Yeah, there's like
They're
what
just,
LA Noir
they're just like what
detective.
interests you the most,
Yeah.
right? And so this one is designed for Dune fans. And I think if you're a Dune fan, you're gonna sit and you're gonna talk about things. And it was really cool understanding the world. But like Tim and I were sitting there because Caleb doesn't know Dune very well, so he was asking about the characters, and we're like, no, these are all new characters. Like these characters are new to us, so you're introducing yourself to the world and stuff, you know. So
Does it
yeah.
say when it takes place in accordance? to
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Did you say already?
Do you want to know?
Oh. Is it in
This
the
is
opening?
I don't
spoiler.
think that's a spoiler.
I think
It's
it's in
not
the
a
opening.
spoiler.
If it's in the opening dialogue,
It
it's
basically
not
takes place a
spoilers.
year after the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
first
within
movie.
a year of the
In
first.
case you're
movie.
watching
The-
this,
the
uh,
Denis
many years
Villeneuve
Right, the 2020 movie,
21
movie.
movie,
Yeah.
starring Timothy Chalamet
I'll remember what year it is anytime now.
Part
Right.
1.
and Rose the Hat.
Okay. Yeah. To me, like I know we try to not do spoilers for people who are going, but if it's like prologue,
Yeah,
like
no,
opening
no,
intro stuff,
right.
I don't feel like that's
No,
spoiler.
that's
I know.
fair.
I just don't want to
That's
talk
fair.
about specific encounters. Is what I'm
Sure.
saying.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's
That's all
fine.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Especially that time that Paul Atreides came and then like
what?
shot everyone.
Oh
It was-
no!
Right.
But he used the voice thing from the David Lynch Dune, not the regular voice.
okay.
He went "Bah!" like through the stupid
Right,
box.
And then
thing.
for
The-
some reason, Patrick Stewart
The
showed up. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Wheeling way. What is it?
Yeah, the
Weirding
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
none of that happened. But anyway, so
I think they do with Mikey
Dune.
Miners, too.
Back to Dune.
Yeah. Let's
Well,
go back
we've
to
been
the
on
game.
Dune the whole time.
House Secrets.
This is true.
So Dune House
Dan,
Secrets.
Oh.
Yeah, go for it.
How do our rating systems work, Dan?
So obviously we're only rating the initial scenario prologue kind of stuff, right? This could drastically change over time, but we're each going to give it a rating of 1 to 10, give you our opinion on it, but that's way too many numbers for Board Game Geek and stuff, so we're then going to average them together for one number that you can tell all your friends that Board Game Rundown rated the game as.
Yeah. Also, tell all your friends watch Board Game Rundown.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
But anyway,
Goes
so
without saying.
Spencer,
Yep.
what would you rate this? Now, I will add the caveat that I do feel like that the experience we had in the prologue, because I know you said, oh, this is just the prologue, it might change. I feel like the prologue actually is just whether or not you
I
like
think it's
the
going to go up.
whether or not you like the
Is what I'm saying
story.
for most people.
I think if you like the story in the world, you get it all in the prologue, and so I feel very comfortable
Right.
giving this a rating. Yeah, it could change.
What I'm saying is, I think
But
the
it might go
score
up
is
'cause
gonna
you're like-
be- I think the score is going
Right.
to drastically impact by the story. Is
Sure,
what I'm saying.
fair
We
enough.
have all the mechanics at this
yeah,
point,
yeah, yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah. So we played with my friend Caleb, who's never seen any of the Dune movies or read any of the books or been exposed to Dune in any way, shape, or form.
Well, that's
and
not true.
so
He's been exposed to it. He's
okay,
chosen
He's
to
chosen
ignore it.
to ignore it.
He
Uh,
hates the board game.
This is true. He hates the board game,
That's what I
the
would
one
say.
board game.
It's fine to be wrong about stuff.
Exactly.
Well, so we had to give him a little overview of some of the basic ideas of the story so that he wouldn't be completely lost. And I think this did a really good job. I mean, this is Dune. This is Frank Herbert. This is heavy stuff. They did a good job of explaining what's going on, especially the little app. I like to look at things from a writer's point of view, so they told the story that they want to tell of the different houses and things they're trying to tell you about very well, so that if you don't know anything about Dune, you're not going to be lost too much. I would recommend that you expose yourself to Dune somewhat, but I think it does a good job. So I'm actually going to give this an 8.5.
All right, Daniel.
I'm giving it an 8.5. But also, my thought. So, I disagree. I think the world it's telling it does an amazing job of telling. But if you don't understand Dune at all, it doesn't set you up any of the prologue stuff. It doesn't. It just throws you in the world. The reason Caleb understood is because before we started, Tim said, "Okay." And he basically summed Dune up in 5 minutes for Caleb.
But-
and he did an amazing job.
But I
you're
don't think
welcome.
that we needed to have the background in order to tell the story that they're telling.
I agree, but yes, I'm saying the story they're telling. I'm saying that you
yeah,
kind
that's
of
what I
worded
was
it
trying
as
to.
the Dune
maybe
universe.
I did word it wrong. I
And
didn't
yeah.
mean that. I meant this story. You don't need to have a background to tell.
And
Right,
it
because
also helps
this
that-
is its own story.
Yeah, and it
completely.
also
Yes.
helps that Caleb is a gigantic fan of Lord of the Rings. He's read lots of fantasy books, and so as Tim was explaining it, Caleb was just kind of guessing what was going to happen next. Because
Right.
while I love
Oh,
Dune,
it has an
yeah,
effect of this.
it
Yeah.
follows basic
It's
tropes.
there's
yeah.
Well,
there's
it
a
dates
William
some of the
Campbell.
tropes,
Is it William Campbell, the heroes? Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey kind of
Oh,
thing,
yes, yes.
right?
But I've always wanted to play games like this. I have played Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, like I said. I've always wanted to play the Detectives. Vienna Connection seems incredible because I love that Cold War type of stuff. I love the 80s. I loved this experience. I cannot wait to play more. And like I said, I instantly knew I was giving this an 8.5. I think it will go up because I think this story is going to get fantastic.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree, I
and
agree.
The prologue doesn't give you much story. It's a prologue. It gives
Yeah.
you the story. It gives you an introduction, and then it's kind of like it's like a cliffhanger. Where are you gonna go next? Dun dun
I
dun.
mean, literally,
You know?
this isn't a spoiler. In your character book, you're like, it's
Oh,
telling
yeah.
you what you're doing. You're getting ready to go meet a
And
contact,
you have a background.
and then something happens, and then the app picks up right there.
Now, we
Okay.
didn't actually read these to each other. I think maybe next time we should read them to each other just so we know the
Yeah, I
background.
mean,
I think we were
it's-
just kind of crunched for time, but yeah, I
Yeah.
agreed. I wanted to read it.
I mean,
'cause
I read mine. I
fun.
didn't read it
Yeah.
out loud to everybody.
Yeah.
But so 8.5. I think you're right about a lot of things. I do think that you
Thanks.
need to warn
Unrelated.
people.
Yes.
No, no, I agree with all your points. I think that you do need to warn people though that this, because it's very similar to like Detective, and like this is a game using that rule system.
for sure.
So you need, if you don't like those games, just stop. Just go away. You're done. Right? It's a 0 for you. You're not gonna have a good time playing.
I do think. Sorry to interrupt. I do think that most people who think they won't like it will like it.
well, no, if they've played Detective and hate
yes,
it,
and they know they don't like
you
it. for
know
sure.
you don't like it.
Luckily, I think that's very few people.
You're not going to get a good experience out of this.
Yeah.
I would qualify this as more of like an experience
Mm-hmm.
than a game you win or lose. It's kind of like when we go to like a VR and you're shooting zombies, you know what I mean, and playing. It's like, well, yeah, high score wins, but I'm going there for the experience
Sure.
of like, because you're in this world, right? And I also kind of equate it to almost a VR experience because it is so immersive. And it is, they nail that. They absolutely nail that. So, but if you're not, if you hate Dune, also, why are you watching
Why are
this?
you watching this video?
If
but
you
if
hate secrets or houses,
Yeah. But also, but if you're a big fan of Dune, I'd give this a try even if you don't like Detective. But because this is a storytelling game in a way,
The
right?
Dune
Absolutely.
story
Yeah, it
might
is.
be
In
enough
the-
to bring
in the-
you
it's
in.
a role playing game.
It
You know, it's
kind
all
of
those
is.
things.
Kind of is.
You know,
Kind of is, and you're just making all you're doing is making some decisions
Yeah.
as you go through.
Yeah,
We're gonna
most
go
of
and
this
try
game
this.
Are the cards.
We're gonna go try this. Let's not spend this. Let's go over here. I think this might.
There are no dice.
It's
Yeah.
almost.
I love when you read a card, right? Like Tim will read a card, and I'll say, "That person's shifty," and it's like
Yeah.
Tim just read a card, but it's written in a way, and it describes
Yeah.
it, and it builds this atmosphere and stuff. And yeah, you can read people almost, and I'm not even looking at the card. And
Right.
I love that.
And
stuff.
I think that like almost like time stories also, right? Time stories
Yes,
is almost more
that's a
experiential.
great experience,
right?
yeah.
It's experiential. You can, but time stories you can win, right? You're trying to
Sure,
complete the objective.
Yeah, you have a goal you're trying to
Yeah,
complete.
and then you get flung back in time, try to do it better,
Yeah.
right? If you don't achieve that goal,
Bob
which
yells
is
at you.
so good. But yeah, man, 8.5.
you, sorry.
I think 8.5
Bob.
is
Oh, bother bad.
8.5's right where I'm at too, right? I think that
nice.
I think that, and I think like Dan, right? Because we know that there's more chapters coming out also.
Yeah.
Right. So as we get through these, and I think the only thing, and it just feels so restrictive, but I guess that's good,
Yeah,
is
good.
how restrictive the skill tree is.
And the economy. These
The economy
guys,
is
you start with
tight.
one resource.
Everybody,
And
yeah,
getting them is really hard.
So all of your scores average together.
that's gonna be tough.
tough one.
8.5.
7. I don't know how.
Well, my 0.
Oh, and Caleb texted. He hated it. I think Caleb had an okay enough time.
He said he liked it. Yeah.
You know, I think he had a good time. I
Right
don't know that
afterward.
he would have loved it. Like it's his favorite thing, but I think he had a good enough time that he would want to continue.
He also
and
seemed
keep
very
trying it
tired,
out.
and this
Yeah.
is a rough game. to
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
sit and
you've
talk.
got to
tired.
kind of like emotionally invest yourself
Yeah,
into
afterward,
this.
I wanted to play the next chapter immediately.
I
but
did. I kind of did too.
I
Yeah.
wanted
but I
to,
read the
but-
room.
But I again, I
Yeah.
really wanted to, but I was like, I think people are too tired. Let's pull out something else.
I would have totally played another one if Caleb looked less tired, I would have suggested it.
It wasn't a scale for me though. You could have been wide awake, but your eyes were like kind of reddish,
Oh.
and I was like, I think Tim's way more tired than he's letting off.
It's all the drugs.
Jeez.
It's all the spice. They're
They'd
supposed
be
to turn blue.
Yeah.
No, but anyways, this was a really good time, and I think though also right, just getting into it enough, right? You know, like that the story was going to be immersive enough.
Yeah.
That it instantly like okay,
And the art on these.
what's
My
next?
God, I love
Yeah, the art's
art.
fantastic.
Ugh.
But clearly they got all the NIL right, name, image, likeness rights,
Mhm.
and
Right.
everything. So, anyways, yeah, Dune House Secrets. We had a great time with it.
Yeah, we're obviously gonna come back and revisit this as we
Yeah,
play
and
more.
then once
Also-
Bob plays
Yeah.
his copy,
I've got
with
an
your
idea
group,
for a group. I just got to get them lined up.
Yep.
We'll probably update as we play scenarios in Board Game Rundown and kind of throw out
Yeah.
what we think during Board Game Rundown. So if you don't watch that, that's our weekly podcast. And we'll probably talk about that in Games We Played section. And then once we finish it,
I think once we finish and Bob has finished his, we
Right,
come back
then
and do
we'll
a
do an
finale,
Good idea.
actual
Yeah,
review.
I like that.
a final like re-review,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
So, anyways, guys, for the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.
I've been Bob.
I've been Spencer.
I'm in Dan.
We'll see you next time.
Spice must flow.
Thanks for checking out the Board Game Rundown. If you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Share our videos on social media and spread the word. We publish new content weekly, including reviews, unboxing, and Let's Plays. And as always, thanks for watching.